Teresa Martin was resting at her home in Chicago, Illinois. It was around 4 in the morning when her phone rang, the glow of the screen showing her daughter Kenneka's name. Kenneka, 19 years old, had gone out that night to celebrate her new job at a party held at the Crowne Plaza, Chicago O'Hare Hotel. Feeling uneasy, Teresa answered the call, sensing that something wasn't right. Her instincts were confirmed when she didn't hear her daughter's voice on the other end, but instead the nervous tone of one of Kenneka's friends. The friend asked if Kenneka had made it home. Teresa's heart skipped a beat. If Kenneka wasn't with her friends and hadn't returned home, where could she be? Overcome with worry, Teresa rushed to the hotel herself to search for her daughter. What had happened to Kenneka Jenkins? The truth would shock everyone. It all started on September 8, 2017, when Kenneka received the exciting news that she had secured a job at a nursing home. Eager to share her joy, she told her friends, who quickly convinced her that such news deserved a celebration. That evening, Kenneka borrowed her mother's car and left the house around 11:30 p.m. to attend a private party organized by her friends at the Crowne Plaza Chicago O'Hare Hotel near Rosemont, about a 50-minute drive from her home. The party was in room 126, and Kenneka arrived with her friends at 1:13 a.m. on Saturday. The atmosphere was lively, with loud music, alcohol, and a room filled with young people. Kenneka greeted her friends, who congratulated her on her new job. However, one of her friends sensed something wasn't quite right. Kenneka, who usually didn't drink alcohol, was swaying and acting strangely as she hugged her friends. Though the odd behavior stood out, no one made much of it since many were intoxicated. The night continued without incident, and Kenneka danced with her friends, refusing to partake in any of the drugs or marijuana being passed around. Still, her friends noticed that she didn't seem herself, behaving in a way that was very different from her usual lively demeanor. Normally, she loved to dance with passion, but that night, her movements were slow and unenthusiastic. She eventually sat down, her expression filled with sadness. As time passed, her friends decided it was time to leave. They left the room around 2:30 a.m., but as they were heading out, Kenneka stopped abruptly. She checked her pockets and realized she had left her phone in the room. Her friends went back to retrieve it, but when they returned, Kenneka was gone. The hotel hallway was eerily empty, dark and silent, like a scene from a horror movie. They searched everywhere, but it seemed as if Kenneka had vanished without a trace. Over an hour passed before they decided to call Teresa, Kenneka's mother, using her phone. They explained that they hadn't seen Kenneka since leaving the party, immediately sending Teresa into panic. Teresa contacted the hotel, but the staff seemed dismissive, assuming Kenneka was just another rebellious teen who would show up eventually. Desperate, Teresa arrived at the hotel around 5:30 a.m., only to face her first hurdle. The hotel refused to release surveillance footage without a formal police report. At 7:14 a.m., Teresa called the Rosemont Public Safety Department, but they advised her to wait a few more hours before filing a missing person report, suggesting that young people often return on their own. Frustrated and knowing something was terribly wrong, Teresa couldn't believe how lightly the situation was being handled. Hours went by with no sign of Kenneka. It wasn't until 12:46 p.m. on Saturday that her family were able to officially file a police report. Only then did hotel management notify their staff of Kenneka's disappearance, around 1:04 p.m. Teresa returned to the hotel by 6 p.m., determined not to waste any more time. They began knocking on every door in the hotel, asking guests if they had seen Kenneka. Their actions led a hotel employee to call 911 to stop the disturbance they were causing. Furious and desperate, Teresa was enraged that more effort was being put into keeping the guests calm rather than searching for her daughter. It took 4 more agonizing hours before police finally agreed to review the hotel's security footage. To everyone's shock, it appeared that Kenneka had never left the hotel. This raised many questions. If Kenneka hadn't slipped out unnoticed, she had to be somewhere inside the hotel. Footage from the common areas was reviewed, and finally, a disturbing image surfaced. Kenneka was seen at 3:20 a.m. walking near the reception, stumbling and swaying as if she were intoxicated. 5 minutes later, she was captured on camera wandering into the lower-level basement area and then toward the kitchen, where she disappeared from view. With this new information, authorities scoured the hotel, but no further clues surfaced. As the day wore on, the search seemed to lead nowhere until September 10th at 12:25 p.m., when a hotel employee made a horrifying discovery. Kenneka had been found inside a freezer, locked from the outside. She was lying face down, missing a shoe, with no apparent injuries aside from a small cut on her foot. Her family was devastated. They had imagined countless scenarios, but nothing as horrifying as this. The freezer, set at a temperature just above freezing, was located in an unused kitchen. It was unclear why the freezer had been operational, as the kitchen hadn't been in use. Despite the investigation, the security footage showed no one entering the freezer with Kenneka, and her family couldn't believe that she would have entered voluntarily. The mystery surrounding what truly happened that night would haunt everyone involved. The police began to dig into the final hours of Kenneka's life, focusing specifically on the party she attended. According to their report, the credit card used to book the hotel room for the party was fraudulent and linked to a criminal gang operating in the Chicago area. Despite rumors circulating about foul play involving dangerous individuals, authorities insisted there was no evidence to support these claims. What happened after the party remained unclear. Some witnesses claimed that Kenneka had left with unidentified individuals, while others said she went back to retrieve her phone from one of the hotel rooms. A month after her tragic death, the coroner's report concluded that Kenneka's death was accidental, caused by hypothermia due to the freezing temperatures in the hotel's walk-in freezer. Alcohol and a medication called topiramate were also found in her system. The combination of these substances may have amplified the effects of both, leading to hypothermia more quickly. Although topiramate is typically prescribed for epilepsy or migraines, Kenneka had never been prescribed this medication. There was also swelling in her brain, though this was not linked to the cause of her death. The police issued a statement confirming that while there were no signs of foul play, the investigation remained open. However, Kenneka's family refused to accept this conclusion, convinced that something more sinister had happened that night. They believed someone had harmed her, and they were frustrated by what they perceived as the police's reluctance to fully investigate the matter. The city of Chicago was shaken by the news of Kenneka's death. Protests were held outside the hotel where she was found, with many believing that hotel staff had failed to take her disappearance seriously and might even have been covering up what really happened. Online, theories about the case spread like wildfire. People questioned how Kenneka, who had barely been able to walk straight in the hotel hallway, could have had the strength to open the heavy freezer door. Further details from the forensic analysis only fueled speculation. Multiple bruises were found on Kenneka's body, raising questions about how she sustained them. If, as the official theory suggested, she had entered the freezer on her own, why was her body covered in bruises? Many people believed that Kenneka had fought for her life, trying to escape her fate in that cold, locked freezer. Adding to the mystery was a video Kenneka had posted earlier in the evening, showing her smiling and enjoying the night with a friend. Later, she posted a Facebook Live video from the party where she could be heard laughing and even jokingly saying, "Help me, help me." What started as harmless fun in the video turned into a chilling moment that would be viewed by over 4 million people, sparking a new theory on the internet. In the hours after her friends left her, the hotel security cameras captured Kenneka walking around with an unidentified group. She had told her friends she was heading to her car, but the footage showed her inside the hotel instead. Why had she lied? After this mysterious interaction, Kenneka disappeared from view for several hours, only to reappear on camera at 3:27 a.m., visibly disoriented and struggling to move. At that point, she could barely walk, relying on the walls and furniture to steady herself. Questions started swirling. Had she consumed something other than alcohol? Her friends and family knew Kenneka rarely drank, as she had a low tolerance for alcohol. Was she forced to drink, or had she been drugged without her knowledge? Another theory emerged, that one of the boys at the party had been infatuated with Kenneka, but she didn't reciprocate his feelings. This idea was strengthened by a live video recorded by one of her friends during the party. Some viewers claimed that if you looked closely, you could see Kenneka being assaulted by a group of boys on a bed in the background. According to this theory, the assault led to her death, and her body was placed in the freezer to cover up the crime. While no concrete evidence supported these claims, the mysterious and heartbreaking circumstances of Kenneka's death left many questions unanswered and fueled widespread debate about what truly happened that night. On social media, various theories emerged about what happened to Kenneka, including accusations against specific individuals. Among the rumors, some speculated that her friends had betrayed her for money, leading to an unfortunate series of events that ended in her death. It was even suggested that the hotel itself may have played a role in covering up the incident. Faced with these allegations, Kenneka's friends deactivated their Facebook pages due to the intense online backlash. One prevailing theory claimed that Kenneka had been lured to the party by a friend who had been paid to bring her, allowing others to take advantage of her while she was intoxicated. According to this rumor, the hotel's manager later kidnapped Kenneka and ended her life to harvest her organs for sale on the black market. This speculation was fueled by the fact that her body was found in a freezer, which was assumed to be used to preserve it. Additionally, surveillance footage from cameras near the freezer, which should have shown Kenneka entering, was reportedly malfunctioning. Adding to the suspicion, an organ donation center was located just 20 minutes from the hotel. Around the same time, the hotel was facing legal action from the family of a 23-year-old man whose body had been donated for medical research but was allegedly mishandled for profit. Though none of these theories were ever confirmed or taken seriously by authorities, many remained convinced that powerful and dangerous individuals were covering up the truth. Kenneka's mother shared her ongoing grief over losing her daughter, believing that someone was responsible for her death. Her family and friends criticized the police's initial response and filed a lawsuit against the hotel, a security company, and a restaurant, seeking over $50 million in compensation. The lawsuit claimed that neither hotel nor security staff reviewed the surveillance footage promptly, resulting in Kenneka's body being discovered 21 hours after she was last seen. The family argued that had the hotel monitored the security cameras properly, Kenneka's life might have been saved. The family's lawyer presented photos of the freezer door, arguing that it had been accidentally closed from the outside after Kenneka entered. He alleged that someone had noticed the open kitchen doors and shut them, unknowingly trapping Kenneka inside. This theory, however, contradicted the timeline laid out by the surveillance footage released by the Rosemont police, which showed that after Kenneka disappeared into the kitchen area, no one else entered the room until her body was discovered. So, the question remained, who had closed the freezer door? In response, the hotel released a statement saying, Kenneka Jenkins' death was a tragedy, but the lawsuit is without merit, and we will vigorously defend against it. The family's lawyer countered that the hotel had the means to secure the kitchen area, which had locked doors, and that if the illegal party had been shut down earlier and security footage reviewed thoroughly, Kenneka's death could have been prevented. Ultimately, in December 2023, 6 years after the incident, the lawsuit was settled for $10 million due to negligence. Of the settlement, around $3.5 million was allocated to cover the attorney's fees. More than $6,000 went toward funeral expenses, and Kenneka's mother, Teresa Martin, received $3.7 million. Other family members were awarded $1.2 million and $1.5 million, respectively. To this day, the circumstances surrounding Kenneka Jenkins's death remain unclear. Neither witnesses nor the hotel's security footage have provided enough information to definitively explain how she ended up in that freezer. Whether it was an accident, a desperate attempt to escape, or something more sinister, Kenneka's death continues to raise questions. Who were the unidentified individuals seen with her that night? Did they try to intoxicate her for their own purposes, or did she drink on her own? Why was there no footage of the freezer area where she died? In her intoxicated state, was she able to open the heavy freezer doors by herself, or did she mistake it for something else, like an elevator? For many, the theory of organ trafficking remains a plausible explanation, especially given the growing issue of organ trade in the United States. Until the police can definitively confirm what really happened, all we can do is continue to speculate. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.